Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today is the first program series of COL MBA entitled Project Management. I'm your host Hera Imtiaz along with my subject expert Mr. Saeed Chaudhary. We begin our program with the brief introduction and overview of project management which will be given to you by our expert Mr. Saeed Chaudhary.
This is a vast subject and a very interesting one. A number of our Commonwealth countries have number of projects in public sector as well as in private sector. There is a big public sector in most Commonwealth countries and they award lots of projects to corporate sector. So we, while talking of projects, cannot ignore public sector projects, although most of these projects are done by corporations. Now, Hera will give us a few hints about public sector and private sector projects.
As a student of MBA, we cannot ignore public sector altogether. Look at the number of projects given by government to the public sector. Public sector is the biggest client of firms doing projects.
In the world at large, however, projects are done by corporate sector and even public sector projects are done by corporations. So we cannot ignore, and most of the time we'll be studying projects with reference to corporate world. Now Hera will be telling us something about corporate sector projects.
What you're seeing on the screen is World Resort in Orlando. This is Dubai Sports City. This is Dubai Metro Project. This is Advanced Diagnostic Center, Dubai. And this is Bullet Train in the United States of America.
Now, what you have seen are mega projects. Projects could be of all sizes. There could be very big projects, medium-sized projects, and short projects.
These projects employ people and they also employ project managers. Those with managerial skills have no dearth of chances. Now Mr. Saeed Chaudhary will be telling you about project management discipline.
Project management needs special sort of skills, although it is akin to general management in many ways, but specialized knowledge of project management is also required. Project management is akin to general management in many ways, but in many ways it also needs specialized skills of management. And the most wonderful thing about project management is that the only condition of success in project management is success. On the basis of success, people are awarded new projects. Now, what you see on the screen is a successful man, as you all know, called Bill Gates. Now, this person and many others only succeeded because they were successful in small projects in the beginning and they moved on to the new and bigger projects and they moved on and on and on. Now, in the world, there are many careers, and in corporate sector also, people move on the basis of careers, they get promotions. But project management is a profession in which we do not have promotions of that sort. People are successful because they are successful in doing projects. They get one project after another if they keep on attaining success, and they may not attain anything if they start failing in projects.
Obviously, with the opening of this field, many people rush to this career.
Now, this career is such a lucrative career that people started joining it in hordes, and an institute had to be established for promoting project management. This institute came rather late. It was established in 1969. Project management became a popular profession, but it required smart people though people entered in this profession in hordes, but they had to be trained. So a number of accreditations and certifications were established all over the world for training people in project management. Project management is now a profession and a career, in some ways more lucrative than many other management related professions. Its experience is considered very valuable because a project management deals with project team, clients, parent body, employees, and all other stakeholders. Project management as a skill and discipline became so popular that membership of Project Management Institute started rising very sharply after the initial period. As you can see on the screen, Project Management Institute's membership started in 1970. It was established in 1969, and till 1980 and even 1990 it progressed slowly, but then projects started arising and most of the countries started producing and advancing in the form of projects. So the membership started rising very sharply from 1990 onward, and it is still a vertical rise, as you can see on the screen. Project management became such a popular profession that a number of courses of accreditation had to be introduced. To maintain most Project Management Institute's credentials, holders must earn professional development units, which are called PDUs. These are small, sometimes short, sometimes long courses which can be earned in a variety of ways, such as taking classes, attending PMI global congresses, contributing to professional research, or writing and publishing papers on the subject. This is the one such program that we are conducting now.
Now let us move to the definition of a project, and the expert Mr. Saeed Chaudhary will be defining and throwing a light on the definition of project.
A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service. Since it is a temporary endeavor, it has phases from start to end, which are called life cycle phases. Now, from this definition, you can see that a project has a number of characteristics. First of all, it's a temporary endeavor, which means that it begins at a certain time and it ends at a certain time. And it has a unique product or service. That is, it is meant for a certain service or product, and it does not produce anything else. In other words, it means that a project begins at a specific time, it ends at a specific time, it uses a limited number of resources or finances, and it produces a unique product or service, which means that it does not produce anything else. It is finished at a certain time with that product or service, which is handed over to the client.
The position of project management is within the strategy of parent organization. As a part, it must fit in the big whole. Furthermore, during the project, it goes through the different phases which are called product life cycle. It has 5 stages, which are the design phase, the growth phase, the maturity phase, the decline phase, and last, completion phase and handing over. Each life cycle phase and the project as a whole has 3 dimensions, which will be explained by Mr. Saeed Chaudhary.
Now, these life cycle phases have three dimensions. Each of these phases have those dimensions. The dimensions are cost, time, and quality, and they apply equally to the initiation phase or the beginning, and the growth phase, and the maturity phase, the decline, and termination of project. The project manager has to be watchful of these dimensions, which are also the constraints of the project. So in each phase they have different significances. Sometimes cost takes the precedence, at others time, and still at others the specifications or the quality.
At formative stage, cost, time and quality, all of three are very important.
At build-up stage, time takes precedence, and in growth and maturity stages, time and performance both have the first importance. At termination, quality is most important because the product or the service is to be handed over to the client.
Sometimes the phases overlap or ease into the next phase. The diagram which we'll be explaining to you by Mr. Saeed Chaudhary.
Now you can see that the initial phase and the beginning phase is also a planning phase, and the whole planning is done during this phase. Therefore, it's not very costly because designs are prepared by the company people in their offices. And when the growth phase starts, things have to be purchased, the materials, and the vendors have to be contacted and bids obtained. So the cost becomes most important, and also the quality, because the materials must be of quality. And when the maturity phase, there are deliverables. So it's very important to deliver things, and milestones must be achieved at the appropriate hour. So this is the time when scheduling and cost and performance all become important. While in the decline phase also the schedule is important, because we are heading towards completion of the project, and that means that things have to be completed on time. And at the termination phase, quality takes precedence, because now the product or service has to be handed over to the client, and their demands of specifications must be fulfilled.
Sometimes we get projects from others, or we do bids for the projects. And finally, after this, we select a project.
So that means that if we are getting projects from others, the project outline is already there. It has been conceived by other people. But if our own company is making their own projects, then they have to conceive the projects. When we bid for projects from other companies or governments, we have to select projects. So this means that before the beginning or the planning phase, there may be a conception or selection phase. Conception in the case when our own company conceives and prepares their project, and selection when they are bidding for a number of projects from various other organizations or governments, and then they have to select one or two or more of the projects for doing for their company.
Normally, we don't expect that a cement manufacturer will start producing wood bricks, so the project must fit into the strategic vision of the parent organization. Now, Mr. Saeed Chaudhary will be giving you a brief introduction about integration management.
As you know, that progress in all the phases actually is with a certain mission and it's targeted to a certain end. Now, during that, we have to manage human resource, we have to manage finances, we have to manage warehousing, manufacturing, procurement, logistics, communication, and all this is done while all the departments are also working and performing their respective services. Now that means that project manager has to coordinate all this work. In fact, he has to orchestrate all this work, and that is what we mean by integration management. Integration management means that when we have conceived or selected a project, we would like to make sure that elements of the project are effectively coordinated and one phase grows into the other smoothly. This is integration management. Objectives and alternatives approaches are basic in integration management.
You will often encounter a word scope in project management books. What is the meaning of scope will be explained by Mr. Saeed Chaudhary.
Scope statement is a delicate affair. It's a statement which gives in detail what will be done in this project and also what will not be done in this project. So it limits and delimits, and therefore scope changes are considered to be very critical, and most of the times the project manager has to resist any scope changes. The scope statement is circulated in the beginning, and everybody has to be clear about the scope of the project. Scope defines the limits of the project, that is, what is to be done and what is not to be done. This would require a scope statement. Scope management is defining what falls in the scope of this project and what does not.
One of the most important aspects of project management is time management, which will be explained by Mr. Saeed Chaudhary.
Projects are time bound. In other words, it means that all their activities are time bound. So, as you will study later in detail, time has to be attached to all activities, and the activities are shown in the form of a network. And later on, we will also calculate the early start of any activity and early finish, and late start and late finish, and the variances in their starts and finishes. So that will all come later. But for the time being, as you can see on the slide, while talking of time management, we actually talk of operationalizing things, which means doing things, which means dividing all project into various activities. As project manager, you will operationalize the whole project plan. This means you will make a timetable, which in other words we call a network, or plan or program execution and review technique for monitoring and controlling each project activity. This is time management, and it is the hallmark of project management because projects have to be completed to time.
Similar is the case with second dimension of project, that is cost, and cost management will be explained by Mr. Saeed Chaudhary as well.
Cost is crucial to all project management. Cost has to be watched very carefully, and details will be coming in the other programs of this course. But for the time being, suffice it to say that increases in cost are taken very seriously by any organization. However, there are various factors which compel increases in costs, inflation being one of the most prevalent. Now, the cost increases are watched, and it is better if at every juncture or at a milestone we recalculate, and if there is any increase in cost, we have to replan all activities. As you can see, there are sometimes when we do not manage cost well, there are deficits at the end, but it is better if at various stages we see costs and we manage them accordingly. Now, this is where cost increases as a whole, and it is not watched at various stages. And here you can see the cost being watched at two different stages, and ultimately the increase in cost does not come as a whole at the end of the project, but it is progressively watched and managed. Quality management is also a very important part of project because quality is watched by many. Quality is watched by stakeholders, by project team, by project sponsors, and it is also controlled by industry standards. Actually, all of them can define quality, but the client has the final say. Quality helps determine whether the stakeholders' expectations were met or the project manager failed to meet these expectations.
At the end, we will revise what we have learned in this overview of project management, that is, origin and development of this discipline, Project Management Institute and its courses and their accreditation, sizes of projects, life cycle phases of projects, dimensions of projects that are cost, time, and performance, management aspects of projects. Now, I would like to thank Mr. Saeed Chaudhary for giving us time and explaining what exactly is project management. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.